Justin Timberlake, the very popular singer and dancer, has a song entitled "Can't Stop the Feeling," which he co-wrote and performed for a movie's soundtrack. In the song he sings, "Everybody sing, I can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in my body, I can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in my body, I can't stop the feeling." The song is pretty much of a celebration of life, a celebration of real joy. As you listen to the song, it's almost impossible not to get caught up in the joyful rhythm and beat. You can easily find yourself dancing along with him, which is obviously the intention of the song. As wonderful as the song is, and there is no doubt that there is a joyful energy that the song generates, it's not necessarily something that is inspirational for every listener. What happens if the feeling that you feel and which you cannot stop is a feeling that you really want to stop and not celebrate? The song never considers this option. For scrupulous people, people suffering with the disorder of OCD, with a manifestation of the OCD laser focused on religious images that seem to be sacred, the dominant feeling that is generated is not welcomed. The impulsive thought that cannot be ignored produces a feeling of anxiety, and sometimes more than anxiety. With the anxiety comes the feeling that is not joyful or celebratory, but often it's a feeling of condemnation and dread. What is even more challenging for the person with OCD scrupulosity is not only the feeling and the anxiety that it produces, but perhaps something even more disturbing. The feeling that is produced is very real, but the interpretation of what the feeling means is very false. In other words, the feeling itself cannot be trusted. What the feeling signals, the dread and the condemnation, is the result of the disorder, not in fact generated by a factual experience. It is the assumed fear that is generated by the experience, the misinterpretation of what the feeling signifies. And the result is a feeling that is very real and very much felt, but which is not truthful. You may feel condemned or lost, but it's a lie. The feelings generated by OCD are intentionally deceptive. They cannot be trusted and should not be trusted. This conflict of feelings felt which are very real, but which do not mean what the feeling generates, is a real dilemma. How does a human person who has been created to feel and to feel in a certain way, depending on the circumstances, endure a constant barrage of feelings, but feelings that are disordered and deceptive? The first step, and perhaps the most difficult step, is to acknowledge that you are indeed a human being. In other words, you're not some kind of being that is disconnected from real experience. Reality is the acceptance of the fact that you are here and now. This is your place. This is your time. This is where you have been created by God to live and to be the person that He has called into life. Your life is the life of a human being, which includes not only thoughts and feelings, but also physical experiences that are sensual, that are rooted in hearing, tasting, smelling, feeling, and more. You are not disconnected from any of these human experiences. You're not expected to rigidly control them. discipline them, or even worse, live in fear of what is both ordinary and necessary. You can make a mistake, but the mistake is not worthy of condemnation. A second step is to acknowledge that you are experiencing a disorder that you are not responsible for. You did not choose this disorder. This is a disorder that has proven physical and psychological markers that indicates that something is not working within you as it should be working. It is a disorder that can be diagnosed and managed. The diagnosis will require the proper and necessary prescriptions, along with specific cognitive and behavioral therapies that have been identified as useful for the management of a disorder. A third step, and this is most difficult when you are struggling with OCD, that's primarily manifested in experience through the prism of a religious perspective, is to recognize that this is not a punishment from God because of your sinfulness or imperfection. It is a disorder. Your experience of OCD is the experience of a person who is suffering. You're not expected to endure it bravely. This is not the cross that you are expected to carry. You are created to be healthy and integrated and fully active and alive as a human person. Implementing this third step is often a real challenge for people who are suffering with OCD scrupulosity. Often, in an attempt to discover and to put into some kind of perspective what you are suffering, a scrupulous person researches the experience of scrupulosity. This research soon exposes a person to the written historical record, mostly from the lived experience of saints and their spiritual struggles. Unfortunately, most of what is recorded in the historical record is of little help. It is of little help and usefulness because the saints, God bless them all, did not understand, nor could they understand, what they were struggling with was a disorder. That information was simply not available to them. They did not know, nor could they be expected to know, anything of psychological origin, since that perspective and understanding did not exist. If a psychological perspective and understanding was available to them, what they would report in their writings would be fundamentally different. It would be reflective of what was scientifically demonstrated and known. Sometimes people read the lives of the saints or the theological work of the great theologians of time past, and because of their reputation, which is in fact richly deserved, believe that what they teach is automatically applicable to their situation in life. It is adamantly not applicable at all times and in all places. Great saints, even the greatest of them, are limited by the constraints of time and space. They cannot know, use, or comment on, apply, or anything else information and learning that had not yet been discovered. Their work is at best complete for their time and place. It's not the final word, or even the most accurate and truthful word for each of us. Our experience is different. It has been expanded, and we are called to apply what we have learned to our present situation. It too will one day be of limited use, at best an historical curiosity, and that's about it. A fourth step is to sharpen your awareness about the feeling that you are experiencing. It is a feeling that is propelling you into an unknown future that cannot be known. Or is it a feeling that is repelling you into the past, reliving mistakes, recalling imperfection, suggesting restitution that is ruinous and unnecessary? If this is what is happening to you now with the feeling, and your sharpened awareness has identified the experience as a consequence of OCD, then you have a choice. The choice is not to fear the future or attempt to repair an imperfect past. The choice is to enter into the present moment, the now, the experience of this time and place. Hopefully, you have determined to practice acquiring the skills of mindfulness. So this would be the perfect opportunity to apply what you have learned. If you have not practiced these skills, now is the chance to deliberately choose to move into the present moment. Sit in the present moment, no matter how it might feel, and let the feelings wash through you. Do not attempt in any manner to answer the fear, to engage the future or the past. It's a trap. You have only the present moment. Here is another uncomfortable truth. You cannot stop or control your feelings, in particular feelings that are generated as the direct result of an intrusive thought. Your OCD disorder will try and trick you into believing that you can. It will trick you into a pattern of ritualistic behavior, repetitive actions that will offer some temporary relief, but it's a slippery slope. The first repetition may only take a few minutes, but it will soon take many minutes in order to achieve the same feeling of relief. It is a progressive disorder that only grows and demands more and more from you. Soon your repetitive actions even begin to anticipate the feeling that has not yet occurred in response to the intrusive and unwanted thought. In other words, as the disorder progresses, you can get to the point where the anticipation of the thought that might occur is enough to produce the anxiety. The 4 steps that I've outlined here are only a beginning. It's hopefully of help to you to choose to sharpen your awareness of the feelings that you are experiencing. Hopefully, it will help you to discern what is ordinary, experienced as a natural result of the experience you have engaged, and those anxious feelings which are generated by your OCD. Growing in this kind of awareness is one way to learn to manage your scrupulosity. You do not have to suffer. It's not hopeless. The final verdict has not been pronounced. You can engage and manage what you're feeling. You can engage and manage a disorder that wants to rob you of the peace that you deserve.